question on here from Ali says, thoughts on Westworld getting canceled? So if you don't know, I've actually watched Westworld all along. Since the very beginning, I watched season 1 right after it aired, and then watched season 2, 3, and then I did, in fact, watch season 4, but I've never actually covered it on my channel. And I had thoughts to do it at certain points in time, that I was going to do a ranking of the seasons after season 3, and it was just a busy whenever, just a lot of life happened, so I didn't end up getting to rewatch all of it to be able to do a ranking. And then no one was asking me about it. No one was asking me what I thought about the show, so I was like, there doesn't even seem to be enough demand that would justify doing a review. And even still, just people don't ask me about it very often. But I've watched it all along the way, which I don't think is terribly surprising because I'm a sci-fi fan, and so the kind of this idea about, what point in time does artificial life just become life and artificial intelligence become a living being? There's a lot of just interesting ideas in there. And if you don't know, Westworld is based off of a Michael Crichton story from nearly 50 years ago, and there was a movie with Yul Brynner. And it's a little bit of a prototype, essentially, for what turned into Jurassic Park. Very much similar ideas are being explored about man's creation, theme parks, the creation, attacking the creator, all sorts of ideas like our science being our own undoing, a lot of similar ideas. And then, of course, they did this revamped show for HBO starting 5-6 years back. So when it comes to the show in general, I thought season 1 was pretty great. If you don't know, the showrunner for it is Jonathan Nolan, Jonah Nolan, Christopher Nolan's brother, who has written a number of Christopher Nolan's films, and then over the last decade has kind of gone off to do his own things. He did a show called Person of Interest, which itself was about kind of artificial intelligence and a machine that can predict the future, and Jim Caviezel using that technology to try and stop crimes. So I thoroughly enjoyed that show, and then he moved on to do Westworld. And so it's just like a very thoughtful, intelligent show. In season 1, it felt like they burned through all their best ideas of the idea of this theme park, Westworld, where there's these very human-like synthetic people, and what could come of all of this. And burned through all those ideas, so you got to season 2, and it just felt like they wrote themselves into a corner. And I didn't really enjoy it all that much. And we got to season 3, and it felt even more so like it just kind of went off the rails. Like it completely lost the plot, lost the concept, and started doing all this crazy, wild other stuff that I just don't think it worked. Don't think it worked like at all. And then season 4 won me back. The one that just aired. It went so bonkers. It leaned so hard into some wacky, weird ideas of where it goes that it managed to pull me back in, because it just like flipped everything on its head, reversed the formula, and was like, all right, now this is weird enough, wacky enough that I'm back and enjoying it. And it ends on like an insane note of like, what just happened? Really? Season 4 ends, and it was supposed to be season 4 ends, and they were going to do one more season. Now we get to our question. What are my thoughts on it being canceled? It's disappointing because it wasn't intended as a series finale. It kind of can work as a series finale because it is like, whoa, but it's not a very satisfying one, and it wasn't intended to be the final point for the story that they were trying to tell. And there were a couple dangling threads, a couple questions left unanswered that were really, really important and big as to what exactly certain characters were doing in the final season. And so it being canceled leaves me disappointed we won't get to see that. And on the other side, I get it. I would assume this show has been losing them a lot of money for a while. Season 1 was this big event show that people were really excited about, and it was like they were setting up their follow-up to Game of Thrones. And then there was a long gap before we got season 2, and it lost all its momentum. Or people were like, what are we doing? What? Ooh, this is not nearly as good. And then season 3 like doubled, tripled down on all the stuff that people didn't really like about season 2, and just completely lost the plot. So I was pretty well like ready to throw in the towel, but I saw some people saying on Twitter, season 4, best episode of television I've seen in a long time. I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And it did win me back, but it won me back, and I don't think it won a lot of other people back. And so when you have a show that's that expensive, looks that gorgeous, that many resources, it's not terribly surprising when they cancel a really expensive thing while they're also canceling movies that are completed and just looking to save as much money as possible. It's not terribly surprising that it got axed. It's disappointing as someone that's been watching it, and that wants to see the intended finale. And I kind of hate it when that's one of the problems with the nature of television, is that TV shows don't know when they're going to get canceled. They don't know when they're going to end, so they're not able to write to an actual conclusion. You might get cut off and not get your last season, or they might say, we want 3 more seasons, and so you build towards what you think is the finale, and you realize you need to go even further. And this is one of those, another classic example of a show that kind of ends not really where it was intended to end. So that's disappointing. I wish we got more finality to it, but it is what it is. And the other weird one that came out is that the cast is still getting paid. I'm sure that was a contractual thing. And that's the wankiness of all this WB Discovery stuff. They're like paying actors for seasons not being shot. They're canceling movies that have been finished, that are essentially ready to be shown, or very close to being ready to shown, as wanky as can be. So WB, what on earth are you doing?